Hello friends, welcome to C Sharp Intermediate to Advanced tutorial. In this sub-series 10, we are going to learn about interprocess communication via Mutex. So, we will use two processes and we will use the Mutex to communicate between the two processes. Mutex object can be used like other thread synchronization object, which means like other sync object, the call to wait one occurs the lock. If it was already occurred, calling thread will wait for the lock release. So we saw this multiple time. Mutex also behaves the same way. Release mutex function will release the occurred lock. That means whoever is waiting on the wait one, they will occur the lock and they will enter inside the protected section of the code. Any waiting thread on the wait one will resume with a lock in hand. So once you make a call to release mutex, so the other thread which is waiting on the wait one will get released. When mutex is created with the empty constructor, it can be used by multiple threads within the process. Mutex, when created with a name, is treated as a OS kernel object. That means the mutex is visible among multiple processes. When multiple process creates the mutex with the same name, or one process will create the mutex and other process will get or reference the same mutex, then one or more processes are using the same mutex, and mutex is maintained by the OS kernel. So operating system kernel or operating system core will maintain the mutex. That way the OS knows there are multiple processes, and when mutex is shared, multiple process is controlled by the single object. So that's the purpose of a mutex. Previously we talked about critical section. So critical section is for threads within the process, but a mutex, if you see, you can use it along different processes as well. So this helps performing synchronization across multiple processes. Let's say we have a mutex object. Also, let's state we have process 1. And let's state that this is a protected resource, or we can state whatever is common to the OS. Let's state it's a file. So through mutex, the file can be accessed. Also, we will now assume thread T1 in process P1 as well as thread T3 in process P2 both want to access the file. Let's state thread T1 in process 1 and thread T3 in process P2 both want to access the shared resource XY file. So what happens? They both go through the mutex and try to access the file. Let's state that process 1 through thread T1 locked the mutex. So it will go ahead and access the resource, and once it is done with the resource, it will release the lock. So if thread T3 is coming in from process P2, it will wait for the lock to release. So once T1 of process P1 completed using the shared resource, the lock will get released, and so both will use the same mutex, right? Once the lock will get released, T3 waiting on the mutex will access the content or access the file. So the mutex, if you see, let's state if the mutex name is ABC1, and let's assume that T1 process created the mutex and T3 will acquire or will grab the same mutex. So that way both thread T1 and T3 will make use of the same mutex. So for this same reason, we can say this mutex is managed by the OS kernel or OS core. So whether it is Mac operating system or Windows, whatever, the OS core will maintain the mutex object. So that's all here you have to know. There is no demo here. Thank you for watching. Bye.